Welcome to the Empowered Catholic Podcast with Karen and Curtis Herbert, where we combine the best of theology, science, and coaching to inspire your empowerment. It's our mission to help you release the inner obstacles that are holding you back from embracing true Christian freedom, so the power of the Holy Spirit can manifest in you. So if you believe that God has more for you, if you want to believe that God has more for you, listen on, my friend. Hello, and welcome to the Empowered Catholic Podcast. You're here with Karen and Curtis Herbert.
Hi, everybody. We are excited about today's episode. We're going to talk about positive energy. We like to call it anabolic energy. That's the building up kind of energy. It's so important. How you show up often determines the outcome that you're going to get and the experience you're going to have. We're going to talk about some kinds of positive energy and what it looks like. And we'll give you some tips to move maybe from some of that negative energy. It shows up from time to time.
Oh, you don't say.
You don't say. And some ways to shift, some tips. The classic, I think, example of how the energy you bring shapes the energy you get is the grumpy guy. The grumpy guy that is not able to trust others, probably because of certain experiences. And their outlook is, I don't trust anybody, and I'm very suspicious of them. And as they go about their business, people start to return the favor. They're reflecting that energy back to them. As he is difficult with them, they don't go out of their way to make his life any easier. And his entire experience is conditioned by his disposition to be not trusting and perhaps a little bit difficult. And it comes back to him, and it shapes not only how he experiences, but what he experiences.
That's a really interesting point, Curtis. Basically, what I hear you saying is, look, the energy you put out there is the energy you'll receive back. You're creating it, really.
It's really true. And I think we all know at least one person who, when they walk into the room, the energy starts to shift. It becomes more positive, and we're enjoying that shift of energy. It could be a different kinds of shift. It might be more excitement or more openness or whatever that is that's inspiring everybody in the room. It's because you can simply feel all of that energy coming off of them, and you start to respond to it. You start to match their level.
Oh, I love being on teams with those people. They just raise the energy level of the whole room when they're part of the team.
It's a real blessing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's great. Let's talk about how anabolic energy can show up. It can look different in different situations and different people. And I do think it's one of the really great things about the energy model is just opening our eyes to the kinds of energy we're experiencing and starting to notice when we're experiencing it. And hey, that's a really anabolic kind of energy. I want some more of that. Let's bring a little bit of that in to the equation.
Let's have more of that. Let's talk about what it looks like or what it might look like. Let's just throw some different kinds of positive energy out there.
Sure. Well, maybe you've had the experience, I've certainly had it, where you can get stuck in the catabolic energy. You know, like maybe somebody did something and you're really frustrated about it and kind of resentful. You feel like you were wronged or taken advantage of. And we can kind of get stuck in that catabolic blame and resentment. And then at some point, you start to be able to tap into a more anabolic kind of energy. You're just like, you know what? That is that person's problem. And I don't need to get sucked into it. I don't need to respond emotionally. I'm just going to take care of what I can control and what I'm responsible for and release the negativity. And perhaps I forgive them. Perhaps I can just let go with some empathy and understanding. But you can really feel it when you're stepping into the new kind of catabolic energy.
At its core, it's an empowering attitude.
Yeah.
You're starting to take charge of what you're actually in charge of. That's yourself. And you're starting to release the things that you wish you could control, but you really can't control.
Right.
And top of that list is other people. You can't really control them. You can want to do things for them, want to help them, want great things for them. Yet at the end of the day, they have to step up and do what's necessary for them to thrive and to do well.
Yeah, I think paying attention to maybe if that shift happens for you, well, what is that energy I'm stepping into? What's changing about how I'm viewing the situation and what I'm taking responsibility for and how I'm showing up with a different kind of energy.
And one kind of energy it's kind of on the border between the negative and the positive, and that's toleration. Toleration.
Okay, talk a little more about that.
Now, if you're in a conflict, like your neighbor is kind of obnoxious, yet you're able to tolerate it, that could be positive if you're accepting your choice. Okay, I'm going to tolerate there's a certain amount of trash getting thrown on my lawn by my sloppy neighbor, and it's fine. It's really not that big of a deal. I can accept that. And really, I can move on. I'm having a better day now that I'm not focusing on the negatives of that behavior.
Sure.
So that's toleration as a real upgrade.
Yeah, you're choosing it because you're like, this is better for me. This is a better option. I'm going to intentionally be this way because you know what? The other option is just negative for me.
That's right. And toleration is really, it's a negative when you're letting the situation continue, yet you're still resisting it. You're not really taking responsibility for the fact that, okay, I'm going to tolerate this and not really do anything about it. And you're starting to ruminate, get frustrated. That's when toleration can be a negative. Now, look, toleration can be a kind of negative behavior. Let's recognize that there are other forms of negative behavior that are much worse.
Yeah.
Yet when it comes to the energy, if my neighbor is misbehaving and I'm able to just shrug it off, oh, well, he's just an obnoxious old guy, or he's just an obnoxious young man, and laugh it off, that's very positive.
Right. I do think there's this element of choice that's coming up that we're talking about here is, am I choosing to release the catabolic energy and tolerate, or am I stewing in it and not saying anything and getting more and more resentful and say I'm tolerating?
That's right. If you have the attitude that my toleration is being forced upon me, I'm being put into this straitjacket and I have to tolerate this, that's a negative energy. Yet if you're realizing, hey, I'm choosing this, sometimes you just want to take the path of least resistance and let it wash over you and move on. And
right.
that could be positive.
It could be a very powerful shift into an anabolic kind of energy. There's other types of anabolic energy. Maybe you've had the experience where you're in a situation and, wow, you really want to help somebody else out. You really want to serve them. You want to see them succeed and thrive. So it gives you a lot of positive energy to help them to do that and to serve them and to make that happen. So like when they win, it's like, hey, I win too. I experience that. That's another kind of really anabolic energy.
That's that servant energy. It's very powerful. We love to serve in this situation, and it's very motivating to us. We like the rewards of seeing other people thrive, and we like to get a little bit of acknowledgement for it. And that's very positive.
Yeah. I think part of the toleration you were talking about earlier, that kind of energy, sometimes I'm like able to disconnect from the negative emotion and look at things a little more logically. And that helps me to release the catabolic. This is almost like I'm able to connect more emotionally, but it's really a positive kind of emotional experience and one of connection with the other person.
I've been thinking a little bit about the Sermon on the Mount, which we talked about not
Right.
too long ago. And blessed are the peacemakers, or oops, I'm using the bad translation. Those who really thrive are the peacemakers.
Right.
Thinking of that counsel, that can be a doorway to moving from maybe aggressive or angry or frustrated behavior into toleration. So it's kind of a way to shift from negative to positive energy.
I think that can really be true, Curtis. And I think the distinction, too, even in thinking about peace, is what's an authentic peace that you're striving for, and what's just conflict avoidance or moving over something. And both of those could be anabolic depending on your situation. Sometimes you want to choose to I'm just going to avoid this because it's not worth it to me. It's not really positive for me to engage with it. And other times it's like, no, really doing some work here and bringing up the real authentic piece, that is extremely empowering and anabolic when you bring that kind of an energy to a situation.
The peacemakers will be called the children of God. And so many crises in the world are crises of disconnection, of alienation, of feeling like you don't belong. And if we're the ones who can bring the connection, then that is a wonderful blessing that we can bring to the world.
I like to think of this energy. An example is, let's say you've worked for someone before who has a lot of this energy. You really feel like, okay, I'm not a number in this organization, on this team. I'm not just here for my output. I'm not here for, making these numbers. This person actually cares about me and what happens to me and how I'm engaged on the team. You can really tell when somebody has that perspective and energy that they're bringing into the workplace in this example. And it doesn't mean they don't care about success or output, but they have this element and energy of the person is valuable. It's important to me to help my employees thrive and grow. It's important to me who they are and seeing them succeed.
That's a great example of the kinds of energy that the leadership shows up with. It's really noticeable, and we've all experienced that. The great leader, and they have different personalities, yet they are creating a more positive kind of outlook for everybody, and they're able to get things done with positivity. And of course, I think, have all had the opposite experience.
Oh, yeah.
Where we're in an organization and it's all about finding somebody to blame, or you better hit your numbers or else, or don't mess this up because you know what, we're going to punish you.
Right. Yeah. People have definitely catabolic strategies of motivation when they're in leadership positions. And you really feel it when you're in the organization versus a real anabolic style of motivation where someone, as we talked about earlier, is just inspiring you and pulling you in and getting you on board and getting everybody to move in a positive direction.
Organizationally, sometimes this shows up as anxiety. How does the organization deal with anxiety?
Oh, interesting.
And if it's not dealing well with it at the highest level, well, it gets passed down. Oh, I don't know what's going on with the economy. I'm really worried. Hey, you down there, you better make your numbers. You better find a way. Hey, you over there, the bosses are after us. We got to get going. Well, the anxiety is rolling downhill.
That's a good point.
Yet in a more anabolic organization, everybody's recognizing, okay, well, we've got some headwinds. We may need some new strategies. Let's find some ideas. maybe it is just us rolling up our sleeves and doing more. Sometimes we don't have good ideas, yet you can feel the difference in those approaches.
You can. I think this is another kind of pretty high level anabolic energy, but the kind where you've got the real vision. And this is like the person who's just really able to take the opportunities available and get everybody on board to take advantage of them. And they don't look at all those things that happen as, oh, this is terrible. What are we going to do? It's more like, okay, here we are in our situation. We're going to come together and we're going to do what we can to create the vision, create the solutions. This is an opportunity to go in a new direction. And you know what? All you people here, you've got all this potential that we can tap into. You're full of potential, and we're just going to unleash it. And they have the power somehow to do that with the people on the team.
Well, this reminds me of the Savannah Bananas.
Oh, yeah.
So Karen was really tired at the end of the day, and I was busy, so she was going to watch the English Bake Off show without me. Well, I put the kibosh on that.
He really did. It's like, what? No way. You got to wait for me.
Activity. And you started watching this show about the Savannah Bananas, who are a baseball team.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. If you haven't heard of them, they're this really fun minor league baseball team. They basically created their own league. And the goal is we're going to transform baseball and make it super fun for the fans. So they ended up just changing the rules, inserting all of this entertainment into the baseball, like talented baseball people, but they're doing backflips and they're wearing kilts and they're putting these dance routines, and it's just taken off because it's so fun and engaging.
And the founder is one of these big idea guys who he worked for a decade, I think, in minor league baseball, trying different things before he really started in with the Savannah Bananas.
Right. And it's like he's got this powerful vision, high energy. He's got all these ideas. I was watching it's basically a documentary. You could just see him leaning on the members of his team, engaging their potential, getting them excited, optimizing their ideas in this very powerful way that created an organization where they're working their butts off, but they're having all this fun while they're doing it, and they're bringing the fun to other people.
I was looking over your shoulder a little bit, and you would just love to work at that place.
That's totally what I was thinking.
Fun.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, what an incredible place to work and a team to be a part of. And that is a really high level of anabolic energy that brings that kind of excitement and potential to other people.
And the positive energy approach was in the face of plenty of challenges. They had many challenges to get acceptance, for attendance, to convince people to join up, yet they persevered through all of that.
I think they had to sell their house in the midst of it to keep the whole thing moving, but that was their vision. And so that's the kind of energy they brought to the whole thing.
Karen, we promised some tips for shifting energy. I think we need a whole nother episode on that.
Of course we do. Of course we do.
Yet,
because once we get jabbing.
We did promise to make some kind of suggestions. So Karen, make some suggestions.
Sure. Well, here's the first level thing, is just raising your awareness and paying attention to energy. Just looking around and saying, okay, what's the energy in this environment? What am I experiencing personally? And what's the energy I'm bringing by the things that I'm thinking, the things that I'm saying, the emotions I'm having, the way I'm responding? How am I interacting with the energy I'm getting from other people or my environment? And how is that showing up for me? And what would it be like? Oh, okay, what would a different kind of energy look like right now if I was choosing one of these more anabolic kinds of energy? how would that change what's happening here? So just even working on awareness of the energy, that's like foundational number one thing to do.
That's a great tip. Simply having some awareness of your energy, because candidly, we can spend a lot of time with the negativity. It can be habitual. It's kind of if you do nothing, that's where you might wind up.
Yes, I fully agree.
Is in the negative energy zone. Usually some efforts involved to move up the ladder to the anabolic energy. A great question to ask yourself is my attitude empowered or disempowered? And if it's disempowered, that can be a good clue. Wait a minute. What is the energy that I'm bringing here?
Yeah.
And what alternatives might be available to me?
Excellent. I think that's a great first step. Okay, let's leave it there, Curtis, and we'll just invite our listeners to work on awareness of their energy this week. We're going to come back next week with the next steps to help you to shift. And as always, if you'd like some guidance or assistance in raising your energy, shifting your energy, reach out to us at empoweredcatholics.com and we'll have a fun conversation with you.
Thank you for being here with us this week. Visit our website at empoweredcatholics.com to learn more about us. And remember, as Pope Francis says, God comes to break open everything that keeps you closed in.